Hello, welcome to another video in our series, How to Build Multi-Generational Wealth. In this particular video, we're asking the question, how do I win the money game? Now, the root cause of your money problems, do you know what it is? One word, fear. Fear is the reason that you're not doing so well with your money. But how is that the case? Because you're allowing money to bully you. That's really what it boils down to. Now, what you need to do is to take back your authority. That will give you the power to tell money what it needs to do for you. So you're allowing it to dictate terms to you instead of it working the other way around. This is the storyline of the Bible. It's a representation of. And essentially, I'm just going to focus on just the beginning part. Okay. Genesis chapters 1 and 2, there's abundance. Man lives with God in the Garden of Eden, which is the paradise of God, which is the terrestrial extension of heaven. In other words, heaven on earth. So man lacks nothing until the day he decides to rebel against God's instructions. And when he does that, God kicks him out of this garden, and so man lives from an area of abundance, like absolute abundance, where he lacks nothing, to an area where God says, from now on, you're going to struggle to earn a living. Okay? So basically, from that moment on, he's facing fear. Because he never used to have fear, because he had everything that he needed. And fear is introduced after man has done what God told him not to do. But we're not going to talk about the details of that for now. We have other videos that go into a lot more detail. Now, what is the difference between power and authority? This is very, very important because we tend to use the two concepts, the two words interchangeably. Authority is a legal system of control, okay? It's like delegated power. This tiny, petite traffic officer, when she's wearing uniform, she's got authority. She can tell you what to do and you will most likely comply, or you should comply. But without the uniform, she doesn't have the power. So the uniform gives it, the authority of the uniform gives it the power. I hope you see the difference. Okay. So power is the ability to influence. Okay. But authority gives you power, but power doesn't necessarily come with authority. Okay. And really, power is a personal trait, it's skill or talent. Now we see in social media, some people have got absolute power because of who they are, the skill they have, they like great musicians, etc., etc. And you can't transfer it. Whereas authority is position based. Now, why does money bully you? We've said fear is the reason, but why is that the case though? Remember, our response to fear is we fight, we fly, we flee, that's flight, or we freeze. Okay. Um, but what is the objective of fear? The objective of fear is to stop you from trying something that may help you. So fear can never be your friend, except where like for example, when there's a lion that's about to eat you, then you need to run away or do something. Fear has a role, but we've allowed fear too much scope in our lives, and that's part of the problem. Okay, and so bullying that the money does for us, it has caused us to surrender our power. Remember, I spoke about power and authority, okay? Because we allow fear into our lives. So money then says, okay, because you fear me, I'm gonna bully you. I'm gonna tell you what to do instead of things working the other way around. Now, how do you fight back? Okay. Now, I always use example of snake handlers. Sometimes I use example of firefighters. What makes a snake handler move towards the snake when the rest of us move away from the snake? Okay, it's a couple of things, but this is the process that's important to understand. One, the snake handler made a decision that I'm going to take authority over this, whether it's money, whether it's electricity, when you work with heavy duty pilots, or whether it's fire. This is what I'm going to do. I have made a decision. I'm going to take authority over this. And in other words, I'm not going to let it bully me. Two, I'm going to master the principles of how it works. Okay? Because if you know how snakes work, then you will not do the things that will make them kill you, if you know what I mean. And number three, You enforce authority by applying those principles, okay? And that's how you get results effectively. Now, let's look at the situation from a slightly different angle. Okay, you take control of your money in a number of ways. Okay, one, remember first, you're a spiritual being that lives in a physical packaging called the body. Now, this is it's very important because money is not just a physical entity. Money has spiritual power if you allow it to have power over you. Okay, but we have a separate video that explains that in a lot more detail. Okay, but remember, money is a form of energy, just like fire, just like electricity. To get results, you need to know the principles that are applicable, how it works, and apply those principles. And number three, if you don't, it'll harass you. Now, think about a situation where you have a mouse in your house. If you are afraid of a mouse, what's going to happen? Every time a mouse, like you hear a sound, you're going to be scattering all over the place because you're allowing the mouse to bully you because of fear. That's essentially the principle here. So money is not just a physical entity, it's a spiritual entity again. So you're a spiritual entity that lives in a physical packaging called the body. In other words, you live in two worlds, the spiritual and the natural. Okay. And money also operates that way. It's important to bear that in mind. Okay. Now, what's God's abundance system? The authority that He has given you. We find this in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. It says, then God blessed them, that's mankind, and God said, be fruitful. Now, to be fruitful is to come up with a solution to a pertinent problem. Okay, is to create a solution, multiply. You take the solution, you replicate it like in a factory setup, and fill the earth. You take the solution that you replicated, you distribute it all over the place to people who can be helped by it. And number four is subdue it. That's management. Management really. And that's how you have dominion. So God has given us a system through which to have dominion. In other words, if we use the system, we will not allow the situation to bully us. Okay, and that's how you take authority. And I know a lot of people when they say be fruitful, they think it's about having children and that kind of stuff. But be fruitful is a much more expansive word than just having children. Now, how do you win the money game? In a sense, we've answered the question, but let's just come back to it again. Number one, decide I will not let money bully me ever again. Okay? And that's how you take authority. The decision is very, very important, but you must be devoted to the decision. Two, master the principles. How does it work? Okay, start reading. Okay, how does it work? There's a lot of material available on the internet and everywhere. And this is how you banish fear. Knowledge is how you manage fear. Okay, and then but you must apply the principles. And then that's how you get results by enforcing the authority. Okay, applying the principles. But remember, and this is number four, serve others. Use the benefits to serve your ecosystem, to serve your community, to serve other people. 'Cause otherwise, you're gonna start accumulating and you become arrogant. And this is what happens. You know what does the Bible say? What happens before the fall? Arrogance. Okay. And pride. That's how it says, but it's essentially the same thing. And you avoid arrogance if you keep, making sure that look, this is how much money I'm making, and a certain portion of it goes towards serving causes that are important to you. Now, this is the innovation execution model. Again, is we've pretty much covered the details of this. And we're saying is if there's anything that you want to do, step number one, clarify your priorities. Okay. And we talk about it as intentionality. Sometimes be devoted to the cause. Okay, that's the first thing. Two is resources. What resources you have? Because the more resources you have, the more you can do. The less you have, the less you can do. And number three is follow processes. Know the game that you're playing. You're playing the money game. How does money work? Don't ever think financial institutions are there and banks are there to help you. They are not there to help you. Okay? They are not your friends. You need to work with them with that understanding. Okay, this is how much you help me, this is what I'm going to do. Because they think about it, you have 100,000, you give them your savings, and they take that 100,000, they make like 100, they make so much money, but they only give you like 3-4% interest. Is that what a friend does? Know the game you're playing. Two, master the basics. And three, bring in your individuality. Okay. And this is the model that we follow in the roadmap. I'm not going to go into detail. Again, we say wealth is about time and assets. Let your assets work for you. And again, in winning the money game, what we're saying is you build wealth by letting your assets do the work for you. Time and assets. The sooner you start, the more successful you'll become. And number two, the main point here is make a decision to take authority over money. Because for as long as you don't make the decision, money will control to bully you. And until you've made a decision, you are not going to take the time to learn how money works. That's how it's going to continue to harass you, and you will never win the money game the way you would. Maybe you'll make a bit of money, but I can tell you, you could make a lot more. Remember, money is a tool. Okay, we use money to serve. We don't use money necessarily to like buy like thousands of shoes and that kind of stuff. Okay, I hope you found the video helpful. And if you did, please talk about it with your friends and share it as much as you can so we can help more people. See you in the next video. Bye bye.